Hello, and welcome to the annual Morel Mushroom Hunting Festival. I am excited to have you here today and to teach you about this amazing pastime. I will be taking you to 3 separate locations today that I'm sure will not only hold plenty of mushrooms to bring home to cook up for your family, but will also provide you with some great knowledge on the mushroom itself. At our first location, we will be talking about what the morel mushroom is. At our second location, we will be talking about the history of morel mushroom hunting, and at our third and final location, we will be talking about morel mushrooms in the culinary world. Stick close to the trail in order to avoid the side effects of this addiction, such as nettles, mosquitoes, and ticks. Now, if you follow me, we can start filling your bags up with mushrooms and your brains up with knowledge. Now, if you look off the trail to your left, you can see several large morel mushrooms, or if you prefer to call them by their scientific name, Orchea esculentoides. Michael Kuo, a mycologist based out of Illinois, has told me that there are 2 distinguishable forms of the morel mushroom. The first is the yellow morel, which is typically the biggest of the morel mushrooms and is characterized by its pale yellow color, as well as deep, unpatterned grooves that run along the whole cap. The second is the gray morel, which looks very similar to the yellow morel, but is typically smaller and has a much darker and grayer tone to it. Now, these mushrooms are very finicky and only appear for around 2 weeks out of the entire year during the spring. This requires perfect conditions, and the ground temperature must be between 52 and 62 degrees Fahrenheit in order for them to grow. They also must have adequate moisture so that they can grow to their full size. They typically first appear on the south-facing hills since they get the most sunlight throughout the day. They are found all over the world, but especially in the Midwest and western coast of the United States. Around here, they are typically found in river bottoms, next to dead or dying elm trees, and usually will grow in large patches. This is because they are connected by an underground root system called mycelium, and when the conditions are right, that mycelium grows to the surface where a mushroom forms. Now, after you finish up your picking at our first location, we can move on to our second location and learn about the history of morel mushroom hunting. On a Wikipedia page written by various authors, we are told that the first morel mushroom was documented by Christian Hendrik Persson in the late 1700s, and he was a European mycologist. This interest would explode in the 1800s, with hundreds of mycologists publishing articles on this funky fungi, with plenty of detailed diagrams and analysis of the mushroom itself. Today, morel mushroom hunting is usually a family activity and is a great way to bring the family together for a great day outdoors. Oftentimes, it is grandparents introducing it to their grandchildren or parents introducing it to their children. From my own experience, I enjoy taking my little brothers out to see the thrill on their faces of finding their first morel mushroom of the year. Now, this is not the case for everyone, as some will go to their grave without telling a soul about their secret morel mushroom spot, and they refuse to take anyone to any of these spots any time of the year. After all, they call it the adult Easter egg hunt, except instead of an Easter bunny hiding these treasures, it's just good old Mother Nature. Now, as you finish your picking and grinning at our second spot, we can move on to our final spot, where we will learn about morel mushrooms in the culinary world. Daniel Huang, a food blogger, has told me that there is a huge demand for morel mushrooms in the gourmet culinary world, especially within French cuisine. Sometimes these restaurants will pay upwards of $80 a pound for these finicky fungi, and this is because they cannot be grown commercially, at least at a substantial level. They require perfect conditions, and even then, by mimicking it, you cannot guarantee that you will have any kind of a bounty at all, just like how it is in the wild. So, every morel that most people have ate is the result of countless hours of foraging through nettles, ticks, mosquitoes, and poison ivy. This causes an extreme rarity of these mushrooms, and because of their time period that they grow, it is very rare to find these mushrooms at any restaurant you will ever attend. Also, these morel mushrooms are great for different kinds of dishes to go with meals. Oftentimes, they're used as a topper for steak and a great additive to the steak. But most people will eat morel mushrooms that have been dipped in batter and then fried in butter, which is the most common way to serve them as it is the easiest and you can taste the morel mushroom for its entire flavor. They are often described as having a meaty and filling taste while also being earthy and natural, and is unlike any other mushroom. From my own experience, even the deepest haters of the common mushroom will enjoy a morel mushroom meal. Now, as we conclude our tour, I would encourage you to take a pamphlet along with your heaping bag of mushrooms. In this pamphlet, you can read everything that we learned about today, so you can go home and get your family interested in this primal pastime and get other people out to enjoy the outdoors. On the first page, it tells you about what the morel mushroom is, including what the conditions are that you find them. On the second page, you can find the history of morel mushroom hunting, as well as some tips and tricks to how to find some of your own. And on the last page, you can learn about morel mushrooms in the culinary world, and it is included with some complimentary recipes that you can share with your family. Now, I encourage you to come back next year for another annual morel mushroom hunting festival in our new location right here